Allá va. This is a traditional version of the song La Bamba from Veracruz, Mexico. This style, this son jarocho, this musical genre, this musical form, and it's been around for over 200 years. Its origin is in that port. It's got African, Latin, Mexican influences. Love it. Context is everything. And in order to understand one's break from conformity, we got to see where it came from. And that's what punk rock music is. And we're very, very familiar with La Bamba. It's probably one of the most, if not the most famous song from Mexico across the world. All right. My name is Paulie. This is the Latino Slant. As you know, I hope you are doing well. Make sure you are subscribed and comment on this video. In this video, we're talking about the origins of the song La Bamba, which we just talked about. We just described a little bit. I'm going to give you some more information on the origins and the style that you just heard. Then we're going to flip it and turn it on its head and talk about the greatest punk cover, probably of all time, by the Plugz of this song, La Bamba. Cool. All right, well, let's go real quick to the lyrics of the song, which I think a lot of people always, and when I say a lot of people, let's just we'll be honest here, probably a lot of non-Latinos, non-Spanish speakers think that the beginning of this song is ba-da-da-da-da bamba. It's not. Here are the lyrics, right? Para bailar la bamba, to dance the bamba, which is a type of traditional dance from Veracruz. It's not just a song, right? This is we're talking cultural significance on different levels. Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, se necesita una poca de gracias. You need a little bit of grace to dance this style. Una poca de gracia para mí, para ti, ahí arriba y arriba. Okay, you need a little bit of grace for yourself and for me. Let's go, let's go. Por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Awesome. Awesome. Yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. I'm not a sailor. I'm a captain. That goes right there to the port of Veracruz. That's the maritime connection. So that's the main lyrics of the song, whether it's Veracruz traditional or Richie Valens or La Bamba, or excuse me, Los Lobos. Those are the main verses. There's been various artists that have added or taken away. There's more traditional lyrics as well, but these are the main ones. Now, really fast, with Los Lobos' cover of La Bamba, it was a rock and roll variation of Richie Valens. It was basically Richie Valens copied, which Valens was a copy as well. So let's go over a few things. In the Lobos version, at the end of the rock song, you hear guitars. That is a direct nod, homage to Veracruz, to its Mexican roots, to its traditional roots, which is what I always thought was very cool at the end of a pop song. That to me is a very much Los Lobos' way of saying, you know, we're going to give you that rock song, but we're going to give you this as well, which some could argue that's a very punk rock move. Now, I also believe that Richie Valens, when he recorded this, that was a very stick it to the man attitude. And I was reminded of this by listening to a podcast of, what's it called? Punk in Translation. Fantastic podcast on the origins of Latino punk. And I'll put the link in the chat, the link in the video description. One gentleman they were interviewing, musician, he says, you got to remember, Richie Valens already was forced to change his name. Richard Valenzuela, Ricardo Valenzuela. He didn't want to. It was like, you know, no, but he changed his name. Then he already had a hit. Come on, let's go. They asked him, what's your next song? La Bamba. It can be all in Spanish. He's like, it's never going to work. It's like, I want to do it. The rest was history. And you could say that as well is a very middle finger to the man. That's a punk aesthetic. Okay, so let's go back to it. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I love talking about this stuff. Let's go to a traditional description of what son jarocho is, because you heard it at the beginning of this video with all the guitars and all the beautiful sounds, but I want you to know its origins. Let's make it bigger. Very cool. Son jarocho, the Veracruz sound, is a regional folk music style of Mexican son from Veracruz, a Mexican state along the Gulf of Mexico. It has evolved over the last 2.5 centuries along the coastal portions of southern Tamaulipas state and the Veracruz state, hence the term jarocho, a colloquial term for people or things from the port city of Veracruz. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Conjunto jarocho is the style that you heard. It's often played only on jaranas and sung in a style with several singers exchanging improvised verses. Yes, called decimas, often with humorous content. So we didn't really get that too much, right? That was just more like one singer that you heard, but you definitely heard the instruments. And let's talk about the instruments really fast. The jarana is a small guitar-like instrument to provide a harmonic bass with some double strings arranged in a variety of configurations. That's a real small little guitar. The requinto is also a small guitar instrument plucked with a long pick made from a cow horn. And then there's a harp. Then there's a acoustic bass style guitar. And you put those together along with a maybe a cajon, which is a boxed drummer, the box, and you get that jarocho sound. Now, context is everything, right? Why are you telling me all this, Paulie? I just want to hear the song. I just like. Well, we're documenting history. We're documenting the undocumented, in a sense. And it's important for the channel to do this because it's far too lazy and too easy to lose its cultural, its emotional and historic significance. And when you do that with anything, I feel, you make it a souveniristic, one-dimensional, and often unimportant, unequal music form, artistic, creative expression. It's not elevated. So what we're doing is elevating your context of this and how beautiful the rich history of this song. So hopefully I explained it. Hopefully I gave you context. And even in rock and roll context, La Bamba was done in the 50s, Richie Valens, and in the late 80s by Los Lobos. Now, you got all that. You got the lyrics. You got all that good stuff. Now let's go to one of my favorite versions of the song, which is a punk cover version of La Bamba by the Plugz, done in the late 70s. So this is like 10 years before Los Lobos was the Plugz and Tito La Riva and the Plugz. Let's give you let's share this and let's plug into the Plugz and who they were and what was going on. Now the Plugz were a punk rock band from Los Angeles, California that formed in 1978 or 77, more or less. They were one of the earlier Latino punk bands, preceded by the Zeros and Mink DeVille. They were, however, several Latino garage bands that predated the Plugz, notably the Midnighters. And I would also add in a question mark the Mysterians. Definitely garage punk bands of the 60s. The Plugz melded the spirit of punk and Mexican music. The band was composed of Tito La Riva, lead vocals, rhythm guitar, Chalo Quintana, drums, Barry McBride, bass, backing vocals, Tony Marisco, lead guitar. Now, they were a contemporary band featured in The Decline of Western Civilization. Check that out as well. Their songs reflected the anger and angst of growing up Chicano, and this was reflected in their sardonic, high-speed version of Richie Valens' La Bamba. They were contemporaries of other Latino rock bands, The Brat, Los Illegals, which we have a video on, Los Illegals. The Plugz have a special place in LA punk history and are generally acknowledged as being the first do-it-yourself punk band having started their own Fatima record label. Great. Now, I also want to add Tito La Riva's further influence on not only rock and roll music, rock music, popular music in the 80s and in the 90s, but films as well. He went on to score and have his songs in films such as Repo Man, Born in East LA, Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn. Featured very prominently in all those films, and all those films and all those songs were very influential. So we're gonna do a video on that. But back to La Bamba, right? The sardonic, high speed, take on La Bamba. Why do that take? Well, for the very reasons that I told you. If you're this Chicano punk band in the late 70s, you don't want anything to do with your traditions. You're rebelling against your family, against your culture, against not only against your Mexican identity, but also your American identity. You're saying F you to all of that. And that's where you get this version. And we went over those lyrics earlier on. Let me add these lyrics that Tito wrote and sung in the song. Si no soy capitalista. Si no soy capitalista. I'm not a capitalist. I'm not a capitalist. Si no soy fascista. Si no soy fascista. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a fascist. Soy anarquista. I'm an anarchist. Now you speed that up with the La Bamba tune in mind, the melody. Si no soy capitalista, si no soy capitalista, si no soy fascista, si no soy fascista, soy anarquista. Bamba, bamba. It's all there. It's all there. And everything else is the same. Those verses that we talked about before. He throws in this third verse. It's not the first verse that he sings. So, context. that anger of not being fully accepted in American society, and you're definitely not accepted in Mexican society because they're like, well, you left, or at least your people did. Fantastic. Now, let's finally get to the song. How about that? The Plugz version of La Bamba, which be your own judge, right? Let's listen a little bit. We'll talk. Here we go. They call it blistering. This is a blistering version. And you can see that gritty gravel vocals of Tito singing. You can feel it. He gives you that familiar guitar riff, that traditional guitar melody on an electric guitar. There's no jarochos, there's none of those acoustics. And they just go full blast in this high speed into this high speed tempo. Yeah. Por ti seré. Now, let me also say, in this version, there's no English. He's not going to give you any English, which is, again, just like in tradition of giving that FU to anything that's authoritative. They got their own label. They did it themselves, just like Richie Valens. He's doing it his own. Okay, so let's go to that. Let's go to that verse. I gotta tell you, the last line where it says soy artista, on the E, he holds it and he kind of like mourns with it. It's like a cry, right? Anarquista. Wow. That right there is the song. You got the cover, but there it elevates, man. And there's this thinking that punk was two things. It was just from Britain, and it was just three instruments. The Clash proved you wrong. Other bands have proven that punk, if anything, was a throw of all kinds of instruments and genres and just like trying to work that shit out, but also just expression. Let's hear it one more time, and then we'll wrap it up. Oh, woof. Fantastic. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I really enjoyed getting the information together and getting it to you guys on the Latino Slant. We have a lot of videos like this, whether it's on lesser known music bands, songs, movies, books. We cover it all. And we're really appreciative that you guys are here. Make sure you are subscribed and please comment on this. Oof. I will put the link of the entire song so you can listen to the whole thing in the video description. It's been my pleasure. We'll see you soon wherever you're at. Keep your slant muy, muy fuerte. Paz.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, yo. The slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.
All right, Paulie, let's go.